situation. It's just a thing of the funding for the SRO slash road deputy that we have hired, Walter Grace. I know we budgeted for $6,000 due to him over till the next end of the fiscal year. But the thing was, we wasn't anticipating snow days, which we've had multiple snow days, and I worked behind and off of him during that time. We almost depleted those funds. What I was going to do with the fiscal board here was to ask if there was any way of getting additional funding to tide him over to the end of the fiscal year. If that was something that was doable, or we could look at some other avenue, trying to work something out on that, because we have almost exhausted the funds that we had allotted for him due to all the snow days we've had. And if I could add, it's been a very fruitful and eventful time that he has worked, because we made several drug busts, or several people still in jail off the streets. So it's not like he was just sitting back there on a paycheck. He's actually been out working the high off of us. I just wanted to bring it up. I don't know if that's the formal way or the right way to do it, but that's my request.
What you be needing, right?
I think the original amount was $6,000. I mean, that was just to cover, I think it was holidays like Christmas and stuff. Am I right, Chris? All that's what it originally was. But like I said, with the snow days and everything, we pretty much went through that. We completed that. So, I mean, I'm thinking possibly an additional $6,000 just to do us until the end of the fiscal year. We get through school and then renegotiate, figure out what we can do as far as keeping going through the summertime after school's out.
We'll take a look at it when Crystal and I have to submit a budget for the fiscal court, a preliminary budget in May for next fiscal year, for July. And I want to sit down with you and see exactly the nuts and bolts of what you think we're going to need for Walker and how we want to work that out for the next fiscal year. Once we get past the fiscal year that we're in. You guys have seen what I've seen as far as letting know that we have removed some individuals from the streets that have allegedly done some things that they need to be in jail for, and they're going through the court process now. Ray and I talked about this, and told you that it needed to be brought to your all's attention, and the request needs to come before you all if he's wanting any additional funds. So what happened, to remind you, and I just remind you if you need to be reminded, was we agreed to give around $6,000 for Walker to cover days off, holidays, and a week, actually 4 weeks of non-school if they were to end school last week. What happened was we had some days where there was sickness, and then we had snow days, and Walker came over and worked as a sheriff's deputy in that capacity when the school was not paying him. So Walker was still getting time, but he wasn't getting time on the school dime. He was getting time working for the sheriff's department, which is our body, two different bodies. When we originally did that budget, we did not take into consideration that may even come into play. I think we had a few days of back and forth there that may be played, but almost immediately after, within a couple of weeks after we made that agreement with the sheriff, school started being called off. And so Walker immediately did what he's trained to do, and what Ray did was he started taking care of business out in the county. So now we're
supplemented that for the help rate for the $6,000.
Now Casey, he's on the officer.
Is that the one we're talking about then?
No, so we're talking about Walker, the SRO / deputy. He works through my office. He is sworn in. He's a sworn officer of my office, but he works at the school.
Right.
Debbie, I say Debbie, the Board of Education pays, he goes ahead and turns his time in. From what I understand, from what I've seen, the fiscal court pays him, and then the Board of Education reimburses what his payment is for the SRO program, but it's separate between my office.
So he does not draw any pay
If he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. If he doesn't work on a snow day, he don't get paid. He don't, they're just straight when he's in session in school. It's the only time he gets paid through the school board. And that's that's the reason why we went through this money here is because on the snow days, we had one solid week there, nobody went to school. He was out here every day with me working.
I was just under the impression that they had got a grant to pay him.
I don't know anything about how they do it.
I was assuming he would have paid whether they were school or not.
No, that was, now with John Paul, that was the case, that was the agreement they had with John Paul. He took his over a straight weekly, bi-weekly, however it worked out, and they had salary set for him. Now, he's still on salary, but it's not for the days that's worked. See, John Paul, even if he didn't work a week, he still got paid.
Yeah.
That's not the case for Walker. He's entirely a separate agreement from what they had for John Paul.
But John Paul didn't work for the county though, did he?
No, I'm saying he was still through the office. He was still through the office, but he worked at the school.
Yeah, it's the same principle. They got to do the same process to
But
get
the only
paid.
thing was is the method was different. John Paul got paid regardless if John Paul was there or not. He got paid, what was it, 26 weeks, 52 weeks, however it was. He got paid straight through.
Right.
Walker doesn't work for the school board. He doesn't get paid through the school board.
Okay.
A potential positive of this is that COPS grant opens back up in late March, early April. We're going to apply for that COPS grant to go on top of the monies that we're receiving to assist with Casey. So if we're approved, then we could potentially receive all or a large portion of the funding for Walker because we are a rural community and they look at us harder. We could potentially see Walker's salary paid for through that COPS grant. And that really helps because A, Walker's already, was it POP certified or COPS certified?
He is, yeah.
So we don't have to go through that process. And B, it would be money that would pass through our budget and then we would be reimbursed for it. So that's what we're doing there.
I mean, I agree. We need to keep him if any way possible.
So we just need to wait to see if we get the grant or what?
Well, if Crystal files for that grant or she gets assistance filed for that grant in April, we may not know until June whether or not that grant is even something we're awarded. It's one of those where it's like the benches we have around here. I applied for that and finally it was months and months down the road.
Chris, do you have any idea where we pull money from?
Yes,
Well, it's just something physically we can do.
We need to do it.
I make a
If there's any way
motion,
possible.
supplement the $6,000.
I'll second.
We got a motion by Duke and a second by Chris. Is there any further discussion?
Only discussion, I would like to have a little more tighter budget there.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just saying $6,000, we need to come up with some kind of close to the number. I mean, if we think 6 is it, then fine, but I think that we need to just get a little fine tuning on the, but we don't know how much of the 6,000 left they got.
Well, you do it up to 6,000.
Do it up to
whatever.
Well, that's the thing. And here's, I'm gonna say this. I think if we go with if we don't have no more blizzards or nothing like that, or school's gonna be canceled, we don't have another attack on COVID, this will more than be enough to carry us through until the end of the school year, and then the 4 weeks past that until we can go back on the budget. July 1st. We gotta go till July 1st. I just want to make sure we got something in place. And chances are we might want to use half of it.
If you don't use it, you don't use it.
4,000 instead of 6. If that's the case, you put it right back where you got it.
Something to remember though, if he works the weekends after a 40-hour week, if he's working for you, that's
So he is now, yeah, and
business number 1, approve record meeting minutes for February 15th, 2022.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Emily, second by Pam. Is there any further discussion? Like I said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, approve the second reading of the ordinance 21-22-001 for KLE FBF funds.
So this is for Casey, right?
Casey and Walker. It's an additional $1 that comes from the state because they have certain certifications, they get reimbursed for keeping up those certifications.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Emily, second by Brian. Is there any further discussion? Like I said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Ayes have it. Number 3, approve the second reading of the Elliott County Fiscal Court's Budget Amendment 1 Ordinance 21-22-002.
And that's just the same one that was approved in January. We just have to.
I got a question about this. On the miscellaneous for 6855, I didn't think on miscellaneous we let have over $1,000. Well, that means that's line item here now.
I think that's for budgeting purposes.
I want to make sure we get the right roll on the auditor.
I'll second Judy's motion.
A motion by Dewey with a second by Emily. Is there any further discussion? That said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please. New business number 1, approve the clerk's 2022 budget and 2021 fourth quarter report.
Brian, you're just going to see the 2022 fee budget estimate on there. I spoke with Crystal today, and we have some outstanding business in the 2021 fee budget still, so we're getting some of that.
Say that again.
The 2021 settlement budget has not been submitted. We have outstanding business on that. We got to settle up for December's on it, so I didn't submit it. What you have in front of you is the 2022 fee account budget estimate. And that's based on numbers that we took in last year. Last year, we took in $1,275,000 some odd dollars across the county. And what you see there is the estimate. What we're asking for in our maximum deputy salaries, and this is, you probably know this, the law statewide is the fiscal court sets the maximum amount that any county clerk's office can spend annually on deputy salaries. Last year, we were approved for $60,000. And you all have a payroll sheet attached to that. If you look at that payroll sheet, you see that the first 2 employees are my 2 full-time employees. The other 2 are part-time. The last 2 on the sheet are no longer with us. My part-time employees, 871 hours for the whole year. Another part-time is 467 hours for the whole year. My full-time, 1,565, and that's right. That's about right. That's somebody that's our every day, 8 to 4. That's how many hours they're going to have annually. The other employee with 1,359 hours, that's just because she's on leave for illness in her family. So that's why she didn't work from basically October through end of December. She's not been there. So as you can see, we only spent $54,900, but had Janet been there the rest of the year, we would have went over. We wouldn't have had enough money to have done us we just, $60,000 is insufficient, inadequate for any county clerk's office in the state. We're at the bottom, if not the lowest, maximum salaries approved in the state of Kentucky. So we're asking for 65,000. That's not much more, but until I can see what's going to happen with my employee that's on leave, I won't be hiring any new people until I see how that's going to go.
Now, Deidre still work for you?
Yes. Yeah. See, they're paying her hours were $871 for the whole,
Yeah.
that's the whole year.
But now we still have to pay her insurance, right?
They're still paying, now that's not included in our 60,000 that we approved, but yes, fiscal court is still paying her insurance. But no other benefits on any other employees. Their pay rate is not exorbitant. It's right at the bottom. It's not anything extra. Anybody spending time in the courthouse know that my office is where all the business is at. That's where the activity is at. There's people in the hall. I need 2 people at the window at all times. Slow day or a busy day. I need 2 people there, 2 full times at the window. So it's just up to you all. Now, I will add, I think you all are aware, I don't know if you know about the supplemental funding that we turn over to the fiscal court annually, which is a one-time turnaround check. That as soon as I receive that check in the mail, I usually get it in February, this time it was around the first week of March. As soon as we get that, we just deposit it and do a turnaround check to the fiscal court for that exact same amount. And last year it was 67-something thousand. This year it's 69,806. So we're more than enough covering the deputy salaries with the one-time payment. We're not covering Deidre's retirement or Deidre's health insurance, but we are more than covering the salaries with what we turn over every year. And if you read that notice that I gave you last year and year before, it's not to be used for anything other than what it was issued for. All we're asking is approve us our money that's been supplemented by the state.
You're asking for approval of is this the budget, or you're asking for approval of
That what you have in front of you, Charles, is just our budget estimate based on what we brought in last year. I added the $69,000 annual payment to that. That's what makes that a little more than what we brought in. The receipts part of that budget is based on what I took in last year, just rounded up or down to the dollar amount. That's what the receipts are.
You are approving the budget and her salary for her deputies.
Okay.
Both of those happen.
And you're asking the salary to be increased from 60 to 65,000.
Yes.
The DLG requires us to have your budget to them by January the 15th.
I know that. I talked to someone in DLG, and I know that that holds up Crystal's portion. She can't move forward with your budget until you all have mine. But it's not the fourth quarter that's holding you up, it's this one right here.
Okay. But we're required to have your budget submitted by January 15th. It's March 15th.
Correct.
And that's through the DLG. They're requiring us. So if we held true to what they say, the DLG, if you do not submit us a budget, we would submit your budget for you.
So have you submitted a budget for me, Ryan, or no?
I have not.
Okay. So in other cases, when this happens, I'm sure that I'm not the first county clerk's office that hasn't made the January 15th deadline.
Is there anything we can do to help you make the January 15th deadline?
One thing you can do is give me adequate funding for my office.
Joey,
You make a motion to approve the first budget.
I'll second.
Is there any way that we could maybe table it until we get the amended? She said that she was waiting to do the settlement for the 2021 budget.
Emily, the
Is that needed?
settlement actually doesn't
Is that
have anything to do with this one moving forward. It's the only one that we're required to have submitted by the 15th is the one you don't have it right. And the first part of that is absolutely correct. The disbursements part is not as good as the receipts. The receipts are based off of what we took in.
make a motion to approve the budget, the estimated budget and the salary cap of 65,000 is what you're asking for.
Yes.
Yep.
But a motion by Brian, seconded by Chris. Is there any further discussion? That's it. All in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, approve to close the following accounts and remove the funds from the financial statements. Library and archive, CDBG accounts.
Okay. So last month, we were to write the final check to the library and archive, or to the community state treasurer. And now in that fund, I have 14 cents for the drug interest and I'm not going to check. So I'm going to ask to move that 14 cents to the general fund and close that out and take that fund completely off my financials, so it's no longer anymore. I don't have to do paper X on it anymore. Get the statements in that. And the same thing for CDBG. We opened that for the Rattlesnake Bridge project, and it's now closed out over a year now. So we have $105 in that account. So, and I know the general fund put the $100 in there. It drew interest of $5 before it was not paying interest. So I'm just going to ask to move that money, $105, back to the general fund and close that account, take that fund off of our financials and that was.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Chris, with a second by Pam. Is there any further discussion? That's it. All in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Number 3, approve to pay remaining balance due to SDR and ERCS as funds are available. Jim could not be here this evening. He had a prior engagement, but I can speak to this. We are waiting, and Jim is making this phone call almost daily for our return portion of the first check you approved to send SDR and ERCS. We are waiting for the capital, frankly, to send us our money back. SDR is doing their due diligence and trying to get us to pay the remaining that we owe. And I'm receiving very good communication from them, asking us to get that payment over to them. I received a visit today from an SDR representative who was super nice. He was just saying, hey, we appreciate being paid when you're getting money. The last communication we had was Jim was told that money is on a desk for signature. today, which is very pleasing, that instead of 75% of FEMA reimbursement, the county will receive 90% FEMA reimbursement. We are pushing the state because it was in their budget to pay 12% to go ahead and pay 10. And so we don't have to pay any at all on this FEMA reimbursement, which some other things, if that happens, some other good things will happen. So keep your fingers crossed. But that email came from Mitch McConnell's office today, and I was about ready to jump out of my head out of the chair. So FEMA is going to reimburse us at 90% instead of 75.
That's what, 200 some thousand?
I think I figured out the math, it was 400. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's a pretty good deal there for us. But what I'm asking for is for you guys to approve for me once we see the funds are available for us to go ahead and write that check as I told SDR I would try to rescue it.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Chris, was second by Charles. Is there any further discussion? With that said, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Thank you. Number 4, approve myself to sign the flex funds agreement and resolution. The flex funds I have sent into Frankfurt for approval and approved to pay point. I think it's 7/10 of a mile of Fairview Church Road and all of Keith Marshall Road out on 556. I also have on my desk a discretionary aid form that I'm submitting next week for about $660,000 of discretionary aid requests to Frankfurt. And I'm hoping that it's looked at positive. I have not called out, I've talked to Pam, I've talked to Brian in the past about Fairview Church Road, but I want to call a couple more, three or four more you magistrates and speak to you about these other roads that I would want to turn in. These are roads that are they're in need, and they're either issues for the citizens that live on the roads, or they're issues for school buses that want to travel the roads. And I promise you, if it's one, it's usually the other. And the roads with flex money are the 2 roads, because we only have $123,000 worth of that. And what I'm sending to Frankfurt is $660,000. And I'll be
Get us, what, 7 miles?
roughly, yeah. And so, and I'm trying to make that money go as far as I can for the rest of y'all as well. Chris, I have Arbor Lee, we're going to fix a couple spots on Arbor. We're going to pave the entrance of Arbor. I'm going to pave the Stringtown exit. And we're going to take that ditch, when you go turn on Arbor Lee or start up the hill, there's a bad, we're going to fix that as well. And I'm going to pave that.
Great.
When we get that. So, I want to talk to y'all individually before I bring that request back to you as a whole and submit it to you. But this is a submittal that I sent to Frankfurt. It's approved pending your authorization.
I make a motion to approve the flex fund agreement.
Okay. Motion by Elliott with a second by Dewey. Is there any further discussion? With that said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Thank you.
Blackhawks will run this for 87,000 a mile.
Well, it's gone up, and there's a KRS, and I understand it. When I got out with Joe Parker the other day, because of oil products, tack oil, and the amount of oil that's actually in the gravel, it's gone up, and I think it's going to be over $90 a ton, whereas we were $88 a ton. So you're looking at it's going up to 2, and that's subject to go up weekly, and this was 2 weeks ago. So
What time of year do they do that pavement?
April 4th is when their plant opens. I'm looking to get some work done down here at the bridge and the curves as soon as it opens, just a little bit to get on the Sandy Hook side, because we already did the Newfoundland side last year. That was part of the state's, but the state didn't pay for this side. So the county, we're going to have to pick up this side. I'm hoping this will be approved. We'll send this back in China. We'll send this back in tomorrow. If everything works out, it can be approved as quick as next week, and we will look to get on their schedule. But again, their plant opens April 4th. Okay. So sometime after April 4th. I do know, and I did make note of this, that under contract for folks that watch this in Isonville, from 486 on State Route 32 to the Lawrence County line, that is under contract. sometime in this calendar year. That's the first road that came under contract was Isonville 486 from the mouth of 486 to the Lawrence County line. If you've traveled that road, you know the line. It's pretty rough shape there. So we're working on a couple more, but that's one of the worst in the county, and there are some more. I'm really going to put a heavy push on Frankfurt. 556 right here, when you turn down through here, it's getting dangerous. We're losing more and more off the side of that cliff, and we need to take a hard look at that. So I'm going to start pushing pretty heavy for that as well down in that country. Number 5, we got everything done. Okay. Number 5, discussion approved funding for a corner vehicle. Our prior corner had his own service vehicle. Mark Lewis is now being sworn in, has requested us to supply him with a van. So it can be kind of like what our jailer has, with a service rear end, not seats. So obviously with his work, you're riding in a different way if you're going with him. So he's asking for a van that has not a cage, but has a barrier between the 2 front seats and the business in the back. Probably not. Anyway, but he's asked for us to assist him in obtaining a van, and I told him I would bring it to fiscal court. Most counties do, if they have funding, they do assist the corners. Mark has expressed that he doesn't want to use his personal vehicle. He would like to use a county supply vehicle whenever he is called to a scene. And I told him I would bring it before you all for discussion and/or approval to see if we can help him out.
What about the yellow ambulance that's down there that Mark used to have for Stevens, then got this corner on it?
That is owned by Steve. That's his property.
I will say this, I didn't get a chance to tell you today, but you were talking about using American Recovery Funds for that. I did put it all into RJ Palmer with Columbus, and he said he would work on the documentation to get to us for the next fiscal board meeting if we wanted to use those funds.
We have a budget in mind.
This is where it gets crazy. Vans are nuts. We got to, I'm not going to, we got to steal with the one you all allowed me to purchase for the jailer over in Carrollton, Kentucky. It drove great. We just have to put a cage in it, and I'm on March 21st. Ray's deputies canine unit is going to L&E or Illinois. Anyway, it's going to Lawrenceburg, Kentucky to be upfitted. We have the box that you all purchased. We need it put in. We're also in that, to go down there and drop that truck off, we're taking the van, and they're going to size up the jailer van to have that done. Because he has to have a cage in his too. Now, Ray had a cage, but they're going to take a look and see if the cage Ray had will work. If not, we'll have to order a cage also for the jailer's van. Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm not trying to get in the coroner's business, I'm not trying to get in y'all's business, because Mark's not here to speak for himself. But if you're gonna look at a vehicle for him, you better look at something that's all terrain, because we've been in some road. With the exception of 2 places that the coroners had to be, they've had to use their, like a Suburban is what Stephen always sit down, because it's been treacherous, not treacherous, but down off the side of the road. A van is, they're kind of touchy whenever it comes to getting into places, is all I'm saying. I just want to bring that up, that you might want to consider 4-wheel drive in whatever vehicle y'all's looking at. That's none of my business, but I know that all calls I've been on to involve death, it's been pretty hard places.
If that's the case, you're looking at probably a 2015-16 Suburban that we would have to retrofit, which we'd have to retrofit a van. So that, just know that that's a cost as well. But 2015, 16-ish, 17, 100,000 miles-ish, because he's not going to use it a lot. But if they call 501, he will need to respond. And he doesn't want to use his own vehicle.
He search the worldwide web to the state contract to find something great.
Well, the state contract would probably be new, right?
Well, possibly, but they also have sales of other vehicles also. It don't have to be.
I'm happy to look on
Steve.
Vaccines at the top. You-
It looks kind of hard.
They shut somebody
Do you think that Stephen would entertain the thought to sell his to us?
That's what I was wondering. I was kind of wondering that as well. The corner bit, the retro fitted angles.
Mark wasn't real excited about that.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I just delivered a message. I can ask if you want me to ask.
we're not real excited about having to spend the fortune either, but you gotta do it, so I mean.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, what the old song says, you don't get what you want, you get what you need.
That angles.
What did Mark use before? His personal vehicle, his funeral, his funeral home vehicle.
Would we be better off paying him mileage to use his vehicle? He worked with buying on that other point. I mean, mileage.
That would be a question to the coroner.
That's what, 52 cents a mile, and the state pays on mileage?
58 and a half, I think, is what it was.
If you refuse.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there as an option.
Can we just kind of make a motion to do research on this?
We gotta look into
Unless
it,
you
yeah.
try to find
Don't have to make any motion, we can just look into it and I'll come back to you.
That's what we need to do.
Fine.
We can't decide this.
Four-wheel drive would probably be a better way to
Sit there and
look
look classified as a clerk.
Fair enough. That's what, we'll look into it and I'll come back with something for you or email it to me. Send it to the, let me take a look at it. We'll dive into it, I'll put it together and I'll get something back to you. We'll try to deal with it. Number 6, approved to renew SDR contract. Our contract with SDR, believe it or not, began April the 5th of last year. It expires April the 4th at midnight of last year. If we cannot pay them back by April the 4th midnight of this year, just in case, we need to renew that contract. Basically, it's just a renewal of the contract that we had. You guys should have had it with you. And once we pay them back, obviously we're out of debt to them and we can move forward. God forbid if we had another disaster between now and then, this automatically locks us in with them if we choose.
Were we happy with their work?
I was extremely happy with their work. We had maybe 2 hiccups. And I'll tell you, the gentleman that came today was the gentleman that led the charge here in Elliott County, and he said Elliott County was the best county to work with, the counties he's worked with.
Is that the Johnson?
Chris Johnson. He drove today, he had a meeting in Carter yesterday, Lawrence today, and Elliott today. Just more or less, it was a courtesy to let us know that they were still out there and they'd still like to be paid. But he thanked us, and then he said, I may get home for supper, and he took out here to head to Georgia. So,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
motion by Emily with a second by Pam. Is there any further discussion?
But this does tie us into a contract.
It does not, it ties us into a contract if we want to be in the contract. It's the same contract. It lets us know that if we need their services.
Just an addendum onto the term.
That's right. It's an extension. You're extending it another year is what you're doing.
If something came up, could we accept other bids or have them rebid that other bids?
If we fell into a state of emergency, then a KRS kicks into where I would come back to you all and we would have to look at this.
That's just what I was.
But it would have to be a state of emergency. Other than that, I'll not even give them a call. I'll just call and tell them I got your check ready.
Oh,
I don't want something to happen.
I'm expecting that check to hit our bank account today, and so I can pay them tomorrow. I want that debt dissolved. I want, so we can move on, because it's holding the county up from getting into other things we'd like to get into. So, but I don't want to have 3 million looming out there, 4 million looming out there. We've got a contractor who's ready to get started, and there's going to be several $100,000 tied up in that in slips with drilling steel. And he starts tomorrow morning, and that's going to be a pretty good size operation. Yeah. So I want to get this paid so we can focus on that. And if some of these other things come through with FEMA, with what I saw from Mr. Collins' office, if that goes in, then we can trees cut today, that we've been using the wood at the office to burn if needed. This was part of the county right of way. Yeah, Pritchard's Tree Service, I'm sorry, you can't see it. They come up today, cut two dead oaks, very large dead oaks out of the county right of way. And I just want you all, so you're not being blindsided, I'd like to believe for this also be considered in the bills that you're paying.
Add that to my motion to pay that as well.
Thank you, sir.
Second that as well.
All right. A motion by Chris and a second by Emily. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Thank you all. Number 2, approve the interfund budget transfers.
Interfund cash transfers here. The first one is the 14 cents from the library.
That's big, man.
It lost that account. The second one is the 105.94 from the city user to the general, lost that account. And then the second one there is, I'm transferring the remaining funds that we can transfer from the road to the general. But then if you turn the page, I'm also transferring 70,000 back to the road fund.
That one has to be paid back.
Yeah, yes, plus a little bit more. And then,
That has to be done in June 1, right?
yes. And then the next one is a $30,000 transfer to the jail from the general. It's just to pay the jail bills.
What's our jail bills, gonna hit this year?
$23,000 this last month.
We hit over 200 this year, you think? I was figuring.
But we are current, right?
Yes.
We might turn.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Emily with a second by Dewey. Is there any further discussion? That said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. I just want to say, going back on Crystal again, her audit was finished the end of last month, and she did an absolute stellar job. She went through her first with Elliott County single federal audit as a county treasurer. She did a stellar job. We did our closing audit conversation on the phone, and the auditor praised her for having I's dotted, T's crossed with the well over $2 million that ran across her desk in things that she manages, and she did a stellar job. There were no official comment findings, so I really want to give her the praise, Cheyenne the praise. Without these 3 girls in that office down there, things they don't go to a crawl, they stop. So everywhere from customer service when somebody calls and they've got a dog in her yard that just pooped, all the way up to $6-7 million purchases that need your attention and your attention right now. Crystal, Cheyenne, and Nancy make that happen every single day.
What year was that on before?
Last year.
I'd also like to add, Crystal and Shana, Nancy are always professional and helpful. Anytime I have any interaction with those girls in the office, you all are super, super nice to work with.
Good job, girl.
Thanks, it means a lot, it really does.
Happy birthday to our judge.
27 is a great birthday.
You still remember
I
that?
grew up with some people, so I know you know them a lot. So, communications from other county offices. Acknowledgements of reports.
Make a motion.
Second.
A motion by Dewey with a second by Chris. Is there any further discussion? That said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Ayes have it. Is there anything else we brought before this court before we ask for adjournment?
Myron, whatever happened about talking to First National about some of the bank
I
accounts?
talked to them, they said they would be welcome for us to come in, and they would put together a package to sit down and talk to us if that's something that you also choose. They recommended that I speak to someone in Grayson if that's a route that you want to delve into. And I told them I would actually, I'm glad you reminded me, I told them I would bring it back to the court and tell them how the conversation conversation, I sit down for probably an hour and just kind of walk through our accounts, and they were familiar with larger accounts, but we have accounts that may go down to zero and go up to $1 million and back to zero. Something they deal with every day, just like all other financial institutions, and they said they would be more than happy. I would probably need to go to Grayson, or Grayson would come up here and have that conversation, and Crystal would have to be involved. She knows things that I'll never know, but that's where it was left, was to come back to you all and tell you that they're happy to entertain that, but they would want something more on an official capacity before we, and so would I, before we move on.
So what do you want to do? Would you all want to get with them and get some kind of a presentation or something to bring back to the court to show us? Or what?
I think have them come give us a presentation.
I think it'd be great if they would, but they're gonna have to talk to them first to see what.
Sure, they'd have to come down so they can sit down and give
Yeah.
their presentation. I'd be all for that.
It's funny you say that. I got communication from the president back today. It was anyway, it was interesting. But yeah, I'm more than happy, Crystal and I, to set up or have them come in and talk to you guys. It'd actually be better probably once we spoke to them, told them what is being asked of, they can come in and speak to you.
Let's try to get them on the agenda for the next meeting if we can.
Maybe people didn't make this money for us, you know, some of these accounts that have better interests and things like that.
What about waste management? Wasn't they supposed to be here tonight?
He's on a cruise.
He said he could send somebody, but he said that it would be someone from Louisville, and he didn't want to do that because they don't know anything about this area. So he said he would come to the next.
He is on a ship, and he said he could be here if he wasn't on a ship, but he said he would be happy to come. We fielded comments and issues since the last time we spoke about it. He's happy to be put on the agenda for the next time we have a meeting once he's home. Brent is more than happy to come out. He's been here before. He's more than happy to come out here. He knows what's coming when he gets here, and he's happy to accept whatever he hears. So we'll ask him to come and be here today. He said he could show us the tickets to the cruise ship if we didn't get it. So,
Not necessary.
Can you kind of fill in about the Laurel Bridge, the completion, estimated completion?
Yeah, sure. They're down there right now working on the Laurel Bridge. I was told 2 weeks ago, approximately 3 weeks, and then we received quite a bit of rain. The sun come back out, and we received a little skip of snow. They were down there today. I was at the garage when they came. They were parking their equipment in our gate. They've got some pretty expensive stuff. You can imagine. So they park it behind our facility, and they kind of get there at 7:30. They return it at 4:15, or about 3:15 every day. I'm thinking we're really close. What I would like to do is have a ribbon cut whenever we do open the bridge. I would hope that I could get that blacktop poured on the San Diego side before, but that's just cosmetic. You can still drive on that. That would just be window dressing. It's still drivable. It's just if you remember before the bridge was closed. But after they leave, they have been given in this contract the permission to go ahead and paint those plates. So you're not re-sandblasting and doing all that. Intech will actually paint the plates. Then you'll have weights and measures come in, and they'll actually do the process on the bridge to get a weight rating. After that's done, I'll get a phone call, and they'll probably want me to sign something saying that the county takes the bridge back up. I'm hoping within a few weeks. That's my hope. I'd like to have a little bit of work done down there on the Sandy Hook side, because on the Newfoundland side, they did that. That was part of the contract, but for some reason, Sandy Hook side was not.
That's going to put you pretty close on the timing of the blacktop plants opening up, the time they're finished.
This is kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So that's my hope there. Yes.
Are we getting close to be able to maybe replace the one quarter bridge?
I'm still waiting on some answers.
Okay.
That may be part of some news that I'd like to share with you all, depending on how this with Senator McConnell's office shakes out. Okay. It's all that kind of goes together, so we're waiting. I've seen some movement on one